With the release of Pokemon Legends Arceus to the Nintendo Switch, they dropped 3 brand new starters and brand new forms for the original starters that we already knew and loved of Rowlet, Oshawott, and Cyndaquil. We now have Hisuian Samurott, Hisuian Decidueye, and Hisuian Typhlosion. I wanted to sit down and break down between who is the strongest of the 3 and the weakest of the 3 and go between all 3 of them and see what are their pros, what are their cons, and what are some major jarring flaws that they have. Now, these 3 will more than likely be in future Pokemon games. That's why I'm doing this. And take note into consideration, guys, there are no abilities into Legends Arceus, so I will be basing these mods based on if they were in Sword and Shield versus the actual Legends Arceus with brand new moves, abilities, stuff like that. You guys get it. If you're excited for the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and please support this video. Let me know if you want to see more. And with that, let's jump in. All right, with the first one on screen right now, Hisuian Samurott, the one that really caught my eye and honestly really just blew me back because this is the one that I slept on the most. Very underrated, I will say so. Very underrated. They give him the Dark type edition. They made it to where he's more of a physical attacker versus special, because you can see on my screen right now that he went from 108 special attack to now 108 physical attack. And then honestly speaking, going back and forth between these 2 mods, guys, like they actually look different enough, you know, like it's a lot of people say that it's just Samurott when you really have to play the game and see it, but it looks different enough, and you go back and forth like that. It really does. Like, Hisuian Samurott is definitely a lot bigger, more rugged, and has the more animalistic features of Samurott versus Samurott tried to be a mixture of the 2, both samurai and animal. Very weird, Game Freak, but we'll look back at that on another day. They also gave this thing an 85 base speed stat, so it's a lot faster than the original 70 base speed stat of the pure water Samurott from the Unnovan region. They made the thing less bulkier as well too, but honestly it pays off because they took away a little bit of its HP, a little bit of its bulks, just to put all those 5 stats that they took away from each and every single stat into that speed stat, because it was 15 put into its speed stat, if I'm not mistaken, correct? They removed 5 off HP, 5 off defense, and 5 off speed def, and all of the remaining 15 went into his special attack stat. Or, I'm sorry, speed. So it made this mon a lot better. And when you look at previous Samurott, who has 4 resistances, 0 immunities, right, and 2 weaknesses, we now have this brand new Samurott who's powered up, Dark type, meaning one of the best offensive typings in the game. You now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weaknesses, or 6 resistances, sorry, and 1 immunity. But then you also did gain 3 more weaknesses of bug fighting and fairy. Now, if you look at it honestly, defense-wise, he just gained a lot more resistances than what the original Samurott had of being 4. Now you have 6, plus an immunity, so in total, he has 7 resistances with the brand new Dark type edition, which honestly makes it a lot better. Samurott really struggled on being a pure water type, not being able to dish out that much damage, you know, kind of being slow, and power creep is a big addition to it is of Samurott also struggling as well. With the addition of Dark typing though, this thing has definitely become a powerhouse, a lot more offensive prowess. They buffed this thing on how much damage you can strike. They gave the kid a brand new move as well too. They gave the guy a brand new move called Ceaseless Edge. Basically it powers up your critical hits. The shell splinters left behind his attack will continue to damage the target for several turns. So it has added bonus effect damage, aiming to land a critical hit, so I would assume that just means that it is a higher chance to crit. It's a physical move, base power 65, accuracy of 90. So it's honestly not that bad of a move, you know, the stab factor as well too, you know, the gimmick that has it behind it of added bonus damage. It's honestly not that bad of a move. It's pretty interesting. I can't cap. So the guy have just gotten overall better moves. They did remove knockoff from the Legends Arceus database, but we can obviously assume that when this thing is put into future games, this thing will probably have knockoff. I'm almost positive the original one does, which you guys can see right now, it's a move tutor. The original one does actually learn knockoff and liquidation, superpower. So the problem with Samurott is it never just struggled with moves that it learns and move diversity. You know, it got knockoff, superpower, priority with Aqua Jet. You know, it never really struggled with that. The problem is that it was pure water, its stats were mediocre, and it just wasn't doing it. But when you make a mon like this that gets a Dark type edition, right, you literally get so much stronger because now you have 2 stabs you can work off of. Pure water is not the best typing. It's truly not. So having 2 typings to work with on an offensive power, now making this thing faster as well too, this kid got a major major buff. Also being immune to Psychic, which if you play this game, you know just how strong Psychic type Pokemon are. They literally had to make the Dark type to nerf Psychic types. They're very powerful. So the guy learns amazing moves, brand new power, right? Everything is beautiful for the guy. He also has access to Mega Horn, moves like Swords Dance, Razor Shell still, right? So many moves. This guy is versatile as well. Not to mention he also gets Scald. So that 100 base special attack isn't actually unviable. The kid is a decent mixed attacker. I do wish the speed was just a little bit better. Setting out 105 would have been amazing. Had they just completely depleted Spadef and made the thing have like 105, that would have been fantastic. But alas, they did not want to do that. Like, imagine they did 40 Spadef. That'd be incredible. But this guy got a lot stronger. He deals an enormous amount of damage with access to Giga Impact, X Scissor, Smart Strike. The list goes on, right? Even Waterfall, like the list goes on, right? The guy learns great moves. His typing us off is honestly amazing. It's extremely powerful offensively. And Samurott has just gotten a big buff. Samurott fans, rejoice, be happy. Your very useless original mod has now become a lot better. I can see this kid definitely being a high pick for UU viability. Could have some viability as well too in OU for sure because Water Dark is amazing, right? But this thing is really powerful. It's Diet Greninja. You can't literally lose if you're Diet Greninja. But it's a fun mod. I think it's great. Big buff on this guy. The next one on the list is the Hisuian Decidueye. They've made the kid grass fighting instead of initially that it was grass ghost. Now, it is a shame they did make grass fighting. If you guys don't know how I feel about grass fighting, I think the typing offensively honestly isn't the world's worst thing, but defensively it is absolutely horrendous. It feels like you're weak to everything in the game. It's just not fun. And playing through the one personally on this mod, I have to watch out for Poison Jab, for Ice Fang, for Ice Beam, for any flying move, for Psychic. Like, it's the most obnoxious thing ever. Now, he does have 6 resistances as well too, so that is very nice, barring water, electric, grass, rock, dark, and ground. The biggest ones being dark and ground. Resisting those is really big. Not to mention resisting the water is also really nice as well too. But the weaknesses, man, the weaknesses are not the best. I mean, he's weak to fire, ice, poison, fairy, psychic, and ×4 weak to flying. The ×4 weak to flying is really bad. Everything else is really bad because psychic and fairy are really starting to roam around everywhere now. Two of the best typings in the game. You have ice moves, which almost everyone and their mother can learn ice moves, right? And almost rarely do you see Ice Stab, honestly, if you want to be that guy, because everything in their mother learns, like Ice Beam, Ice Punch, Ice Fang, and then Poison Jab. Everyone in their mother's been getting Poison Jab, especially with Sword and Shield, with the TRs. So many mods have been getting access to this move, so it's just not fun. It's not. And not to mention, they did the absolute worst thing on actually making this mod go from regulars to Hisuian form, is they lowered its speed stat by 10 points. It initially went from 70 base speed to now sitting at 60. Now, this is huge, because if you're going to be a fighting type, you need to be fast. Fighting types need to be fast in order to see the best possible outcome for a said typing. The fighting type is really at its best when it's fast. Big example, mons like Keldeo and Terrakion in the Generation 5 meta, they were absolutely powerful. They were just dealing out damage at an immense rate. Even mons like Mienshao and Lucario, because they have a good speed stat. Versus mons like Breloom, who doesn't have the world's best speed stat, but because he has a priority move that's buffed by his ability, it's buffed by his stab, it's buffed by the item, he's very much chilling off that. But Hisuian Decidueye is kind of having similar struggles to a mon like Chestnut, where they made this thing grass fighting and it struggles a lot because it just can't move. Now, with legs like these, I don't know why he can't move. I thought, okay, this is it. I was very upset when I saw the original Decidueye form just not be able to move that well as 2. But looking at his giant wingspan or whatever, I was like, sure, maybe I get it. It's extinct, right? So like, he barely alive, he holding it up. But the problem is that this guy has absolutely ginormous feet, right? He should be running fast. It very much gives me Galarian Zapdos vibes, but it's slower. They obviously took away from its special attack and its special defense as well too, and put more of that into its physical offensive stat. So arguably this one should be dealing more damage than the original Decidueye, because there's an absolute higher offensive stat than the previous form, because Decidueye's highest stat was 107 in its physical attack stat, versus now Hisuian Decidueye now has an attack stat of 112, which is honestly not that bad. 88 HP is fantastic, 80 defense, 95 speed def. So you see what I'm saying here though? Like, its stats are not bad, except that very last stat. You know, the one that matters the most, IMO. I think that one does matter the most, obviously outside of its offensive stats, right? I feel like they could have easily swapped the special attack or special defense with the speed. I would like to know what goes behind Game Freak's method on balancing purposes, stat distribution. I would like to actually know, because they took away 10 points of speed from Decidueye. And again, I know you guys are probably getting a little annoyed that I brought it up so much, but of typing like this, you actually need to be able to run. If you don't have a good pace of speed, you are immediately power crept, and at this point now you're struggling, because the regular Decidueye already struggled with that speed stat. So to make it even worse, now desperately needing that speed stat, it is very unfortunate. And unfortunately as well too, their abilities are very much the same as the previous forms, which is a little bit unfortunate, but Mon's stats like Overgrow and like, you know, like the Fire one as well too, they're actually not bad. The Mon learns a lot of moves though. It does get a brand new move. It actually does get a brand new move called Triple Arrows, which this move is absolutely ridiculous. Basically, it means that the next attack that you do is guaranteed a crit. It's focus energy, but offensive. So it is a base power of 50. It's kind of low, but you have to treat this move kind of like how you would treat Power Up Punch. So Power Up Punch gives you an overall attack stat buff, but that one stays permanently. Versus Triple Arrows, the next move guaranteed lands a crit, but it lowers it also lowers the target's defensive stat, which is fantastic. That's huge. So basically, the next turn after that, turn 3, when you no longer are a guaranteed crit, you can go for Triple Arrows again, or Leaf Blade, or any other move, and then you'll be able to do a lot more damage, because now their defensive stats have been lowered. You see what I mean? So overall, you're sitting at a net positive with this move. It's actually a really good move, you ask me. Do not look at the base power and think it's actually fodder and unviable. It's honestly a great move as well too. Stab, base 50 power, next chance crit, lower defensive stats, turn 3. It's honestly really, really, really good. So the move is not bad on the Mon. He gets insane moves as well too. You can see on screen right now, he gets moves like Brave Bird, he gets Leaf Blade, Aura Sphere with 95 special attack is actually not terrible. The kid gets Rock Smash, which, I mean, in-game wise is fantastic. Competitive wise, different discussion. It does get setup of Bulk Up. It does get some mixed versatility as well too with Energy Ball. But it gets Psycho Cut. Shadow Claw still is retained, and it also gets access to Spikes. So its move pool wise is actually not terrible. I think the thing would have been absolutely insane had it have given it like some sort of speed buff move. Like had they have given the thing Quiver Dance, I would have probably been very scared. Now, for those of you thinking, wow, that doesn't make any sense. There's so many Mons that just get Dragon Dance, and it makes no sense at all. So I don't think asking for Quiver Dance on Mons that may need it is too insane. I don't think it's too insane. I don't, right? Plus, he's got his long ass legs to dance. I don't think it's a crazy thing in the world, right? But its moves, not the problem again. It's got great moves, right? Its offensive power is definitely there, and it's definitely something to not sleep on. I think the big problem with the thing, though, is obviously that speed stat. That base 60 base speed is just really going to hurt this Mon, and it's truly, truly tragic. Decidueye fans, I really feel you on this one, because I chose Decidueye, and that's why I'm complaining about him this much, because his struggles are very much there. The last one, guys, Hisuian Typhlosion. This one definitely took the world by storm. It was so bad that one of the things designed that you look at on screen right now got leaked. It was trending on Twitter. Everybody was upset. They were like, what is this? They made Typhlosion into a college stoner, a high school stoner. What is this, man? What happened? And then we saw the fire. So we're very much chilling because we saw the fire. The fire definitely is the reason why we all like this, for sure. There's some that probably like it for its design. You're fine with that. But the fire very much carried it. It's insane. Hisuian Typhlosion, big buff from initial Typhlosion. Yes, the removal of 5 points from the speed stat does actually matter because, you know, base 100 is that very middle nice ground. Then you have 95, which is slowly but surely crept for sure. You know, you definitely crept for sure. But this thing got a huge buff because it now went from 109 to 119 special attack set, which is absolutely scary. It went from at an absolute max of 348, to put into bigger numbers here, to 370. There's a lot of Mons that hit this hard, that deal an immense amount of damage, and not to mention it is a ghost type with a special attack stat this high. That is definitely very nice. Now, its physical attack stat actually not totally unviable. 84 is there, so you can, if you want to, have that option to do any sort of mixed stuff with it. It's definitely there, to each their own. But the special attack stat and the speed is what really matters on this guy because he is frail, and here's why. You are weak to everything in the game being a fire type. There's so many things you're weak to very much common types, water and ground specifically, and not to mention rock because of its entry hazards due to stealth rock. So being a fire type very much is a struggle. But the ghost typing basically means all of one thing. You are offensively so deadly now because ghost typing offensively is one of the best typings in the game offensively because hardly anything switches to ghost types outside of normal types and a dark type. And even then, most ghost types are in Dazzling Gleam, but it's just a normal type, you know? And then sometimes the ghost types are in fighting moves like Aura Sphere or Focus Blast. So in reality, ghost typing is one of the best typings in the game offensively. So when I saw anything was a ghost type, I was like, okay, you know what, Typhlosion, your time is now. You are no longer going to be the ragdoll that everybody craps on for being Choice Specs Eruption, Choice Scarf in the Sun Eruption. You are no longer just going to be that. You now have some versatility to you now. Now, while you are 5 points slower, you could still Scarf this guy and be an absolute threat. Still Choice Specs this guy, be an absolute threat, or you could do mix if you like that as well too. But overall, it is a massive buff. You have 2 immunities, normal and fighting. You can never complain about immunities. I just always see that as the dumbest thing ever. I've seen people say, oh, this mom is immune to normal. Who cares? It's a whole ass immunity. Do you realize how nice that is? As privilege. Not to mention as well, it is resistant to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 typings it resists, and one of them is quad, being bug. The weaknesses are still there with Typhlosion. If anything, he's just really gained more. He's now still weak to water, ground, and rock, but now he's also weak to ghost and dark, which is very much unfortunate. Hate to see it, but you gotta trade some sort of weaknesses for power, you know? So we'll see what it is. So obviously he's going to be definitely not appreciating a knockoff, but that doesn't matter because one of the best moves in the game. The thing with this kid though is that he absolutely dumps out way more damage now, and he's way scarier. They've given him insane moves, which is a brand new move called Infernal Parade, which basically says the user attacks with myriad fireballs. This will also leave the target with a burn. The move's power is doubled if the target has a status condition. So it's basically Hex. Slightly weaker though, but it's basically Hex. But the nice part about it is it's Hex, but it has a chance to give you a status infliction, which IMO seems nuts. Because if you are basically having a chance, what I would assume is 10% chance to burn, right? If it has that chance to burn you, you do double the damage when they're burned with the exact same move. So you actually are rewarded for spamming the move. And the base power is only 5 points weaker than Hex. So the trade-off is really not that bad if you ask me. But you can just rock status guaranteed with a Will-O-Wisp and then just go for Hex. But in Legends Arceus, they did sort of remove hacks. I don't know if they're going to be doing that for future games. We're going to be talking about future games just in general for now. The move pool is absolutely ridiculous. Gets access to Flamethrowers still, Shadow Ball and Hex now, which is incredible, and the brand new move Infernal Parade. It gets brand new moves, access to Calm Mind, which is insane. Drain Punch, which is wicked. Still keeps Fire Punch, gets Flamethrower. Got Mystical Fire, which is actually not a bad move. Ominous Wind, which is basically the Ghost Ancient Power, has a chance to rock all of your stats getting buffed. Thunder Punch, Wild Charge, Shadow Claw, Rock Slide. The Mon learns really good moves. Really good moves. They gave this thing Calm Mind. That's scary. That is really scary. That is. There's obviously a lot of moves that have been removed from this Mon that initially you could still learn that we have to obviously imply, like Lava Plume, right? Like Burn Up, Eruption, Will-O-Wisp, right? Like, obviously these moves are not gone forever, guys. They're just gone in Legends Arceus, I would assume, due to hacks purposes, to not make the game too easy, not just toxic, reflect screen stall every single boss in the game. But it still gets really good moves, access to Focus Blast. I wish they gave Typhlosion Aura Sphere because they did give Gardevoir Aura Sphere, but I wish that they did. But regardless, the thing is an absolute monster. So Calm Mind Typhlosion is an actual thing now, guys. And last I checked, the kid could actually not learn Calm Mind in its original status. So that's insane. So you really don't need much when it comes to this Mon. You just need your Fire Stab, your Ghost Stab, your setup, and then maybe a substitute. You can do like Calm Mind, substitute, Flamethrower, and like Hex. Straight up. Or like Infernal Parade. Or even Shadow Ball. It's absolutely insane. The list goes on. The Mon is really powerful. And you don't really need that many moves because the thing is a ghost type. You are allowed to have that privilege of being a ghost type because you're just so powerful. All in all, this is a major buff and a huge buff from original Typhlosion, who sort of struggled, but IMO was definitely the strongest of the 3 starters pre-Hisuian forms. And now I know you guys want to know who is the strongest between the 3, and we're gonna tally it up. So I can't lie, guys, coming in last place is Hisuian Decidueye. This one really hurts me because it's easily my favorite one in terms of design concept. It's also sometimes when things work out, it's really fun to use, but the guy struggles too much. I feel like he just didn't really become an enormous amount better than his original component, being the regular Decidueye. I really just feel like he didn't. Ghost typing is better offensively. He became a fighting type to become slower. I mean, you could choice Scarf it, but it's slower. So I just feel like in terms of the 3, he struggles the most. He has more weaknesses that are more common. It's really obnoxious. The other ones have immunities, and grass fighting just is not the best typing. So Game Freak, please stop making this typing, and I'd be very happy. But unfortunately, guys, Hisuian Decidueye comes in the 3rd spot. Coming in the 2nd spot, we have Hisuian Samurott. This thing got a major buff from its original variant of the Hisuian Samurott. Dark type accessibility, stab knockoff when that comes. Even the things he deals with now, not even worrying about future moves. Stab, dark stab, water stab, setup. They gave this thing early setup as an Oshawott with Swords Dance. His brand new move is absolutely monstrous if you guys have not known much about it. Ceaseless Edge, which if you look into it real quick, it basically aims to land a crit. And it has added damage bonus that lasts for several turns, so it's almost like a move that increases your crit, but it's also like Fire Spin, so they take like overtime damage. So overall, this mon is very powerful, and they've given the thing a huge buff. So honestly, coming to 2nd spot is Hisuian Samurott for free, guys. Samurott fans are eating. Let's go, boys. And then last but not least, Hisuian Typhlosion coming in as the #1 best starter of the 3. This one shouldn't be too obvious, guys. If you use all 3 starters gameplay-wise to run through the game, you should kind of feel it. The thing is an absolute monster. Once you evolve that Kulava into the Typhlosion, it's City Boys up. You have so many immunities in the game, so much offensive, scary, feared stuff. Arceus is literally a normal type, so to each their own, right? But this thing is absolutely terrifying. They gave the guy Calm Mind with a ghost move that basically is Hex, that can also basically do status infliction. That's insane. That's actually insane. And not to mention as well, too, it hits the hardest of the 3, being at 119 special attack stat with Stab, Shadow Ball. So in theory, this thing can deal the most damage. The most burst damage, I would still have to give it to Samurott because Swords Dance +2, he'll be hitting at a higher rate than Calm Mind, which is +1 for the Hisuian Typhlosion. But in overall damage, I still got to give it to Typhlosion. The guy is just a monster. He's really, really strong. So you guys let me know what you thought of this video, if you enjoyed it or not. I went into this pretty analytically and pretty objectively. If you disagree, I would actually love to know why, because I did spend a lot of time into this, and I do a lot of competitive on my free time. I've been doing it for years, so I do have an idea of what I'm talking about. But you guys let me know what you think. Which started you choose between the 3? The Decidueye boys, I'm very much upset with you guys. 07 to the chat. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.